Hi, you folks out there on the mountain. And you're watching Count It Out with Mike and Tyler. Stay tuned.
This episode of Count It Out with Mike and Tyler is provided by Cottage Springs.
You are listening to Count It Out with Mike and Tyler.
Well, we are live, pals, and welcome to another edition of the Bill Apter Seal of Approved Count It Out with Mike and Tyler. And of course, we are provided by our good friends over at Cottage Springs. My name is Tyler, and I am joined as always by the one and only Mike. What up?
Much, man. Actually, I got something to open with this week. I got a kind of a cute story to tell you.
Ah,
Yeah. So as you know, I tell you a lot of stuff about this whenever something like this happens, and I'm happy about it. But you know that my son's been getting more and more into wrestling.
yes.
And thanks to not just watching wrestling, but there's other things that make him interested in it, and a lot of it comes from the crossovers with cartoons. So recently, he watched the crossover WWE did with the Flintstones. So through that, he became a Rey Mysterio fan. So he keeps asking me questions about Rey Mysterio, like every other day. Like, can you tell me more about Rey Mysterio? And then I'll tell him about a couple storylines, and then he'll come to me going, "Is Dominic a bad guy?" I'm like, "Yep." He goes, "Can I watch a match with Dominic?" I said, "Yeah." So I showed him the WrestleMania match. And he sits there going, "Isn't Dominic a bad guy?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Then why do I want to cheer for him?" Makes me laugh so much. So today
Pure
we
Toronto
watched
fan, always cheering for the heels, eh?
exactly. So today we watched one of the Scooby Doo crossovers. And this was one of the last things Dusty Rhodes ever did before he passed away.
Hmm.
Dusty did the voice for his own character on the show, and then by the time it came out, he had already left us. But this cartoon has made Finn look at me and say, "Dad, can I watch Dusty Rhodes matches?"
Oh,
I
did you
almost,
cry
I
immediately?
almost cried. I'm like, "Yes, son. Yes, you may."
Hard times, baby.
Oh my god. Well, he keeps walking around the house going, "I'm funky like a monkey." This is the greatest thing ever, man. It's fucking
uh,
it's great. I love it.
if
Anyways,
we're on the topic of sharing cute stories, I'll put a little one out there as well. Over the weekend, I went to one of my niece's birthday parties. 2 or 3 year old. I don't know, whatever. I think she was 2.
Uncle of
Um,
the Year.
I know I'm bad with numbers, all right. But either way, we had a great time, and all the family was there. And my nephew, his name is Emmett, and he's a pretty cool dude. He's a huge wrestling fan.
Is this the same nephew you've taken to a couple Destiny shows?
He's gone to Barry
Yeah.
Wrestling. This is a different nephew. So this is
Oh, a
on
different nephew. Okay.
this is on that nephew's on Victoria's side of the family.
Right.
This one's on my immediate family.
Oh, okay.
So this is my cousin Caitlin, who is the same age as my sister, a year younger than my sister, I believe. I don't know ages. I'm getting old myself. All right, it
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Either way, Emmett is a huge wrestling fan, and like to the point where he like reminds me of like you and I.
Yeah.
Like you ask us something about the early '90s, which we'll be talking about later today, and
Mhm.
he will be like, and you do that with this era. Oh, AJ Styles, Cody Rhodes is my favorite. Da da da.
Yeah.
And my cousin was telling me that he had such a good time at Barry Wrestling that he has 2 pictures hanging on his wall. He has a Van Landen picture and a picture of
Nice.
me.
That's amazing.
And I thought that was pretty cool.
Very cool.
But that's
Man,
our
Dan's over with the kids, eh?
Van's over with everybody.
Yeah.
Guy's over like Rover. Just ask Leo Rush.
Yeah, like you said about the early 90s, though, that's what we're doing today. I've got the top 7 storylines from the new generation era. So we're doing 1993 through 1997.
But before we
Only
do
WWF.
that,
Oh,
only
yes.
WWF.
Yeah.
But before we do that, well, we have to talk about the best storyline from the last week in professional wrestling. That's right, folks. It's time for the Cottage Spring Punch Out of the Week. And now, the Cottage Springs Punch Out of the Week. Find your favorite flavors at cottagesprings.ca. So I know I did the Cottage Spring Punch Out of the Week last week as well, but since you're doing the list this week, I'm hogging it. I'm doing it 2 weeks in a row.
Go for it, bud.
But before I do that, gotta crack open one of the brand new flavors that Cottage Springs has. This is the strawberry vodka soda, and it is wonderful. We'll crack that bad boy open. Cheers to Cottage Springs. And
I keep getting texts from listeners and some friends saying that we turn them on to Cottage Springs.
My
Good Walsh said his fridge is now full with Cottage Springs.
I will also say Barry Wrestling's own Hall of Famers, Shelly King Weiss and Brian Weiss, sent me some pictures of themselves drinking Cottage Springs as well.
Amazing.
A couple weeks last week. So I tell you, we're not just shelling here. We love the product, and this new strawberry flavor is really good. I highly recommend checking out that pack with the new flavors in it. They have their punch outs, they have their springers. It's
They
like
still have the tequila brands.
they have the tequila, the iced teas,
the flavored vodkas,
the waters. I love the
so
waters
much.
too. I'm all about that strawberry kiwi water that they have. It might be my favorite drink of all time.
I know you don't dig raspberry in general, but that raspberry water comes in a 1 liter box. Oh,
Yes.
man.
See, I'm just not a raspberry guy. Now, the Cottage Spring raspberry one's good, but the first alcohol that I ever threw up off of was a raspberry vodka. So nothing to do with Cottage Springs at all. I just have PTSD. Like I just can't go near a raspberry vodka. But that's why I like the fact that when we buy a pack, I can just give you the raspberry stuff and I'll take the watermelon stuff.
Exactly.
Because I love me the watermelons.
Yeah.
But anyways, so thank you, Cottage Springs, as always, for being a great tag team partner of ours. And we're gonna talk about what I thought was one of the biggest angles in the last little while. Definitely one that got the wrestling world talking.
Mm-hmm. One way or another, whether it was a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, and I want to get your take on it in a minute as well. But let's start right off with the hot angle that they shot last week on AEW with Jack Perry, the new elite, and Tony Khan getting laid out. What we were both very skeptical and not a big fan of the idea of them releasing the footage of the CM Punk Jack Perry fight. Now we are 2-3 weeks removed from that. I believe 2 weeks removed from that now. Good, bad idea still, and where do you think we are with this whole Jack Perry situation?
I still don't think they should have released the footage. I think it was unprofessional on their part. If I said a couple of weeks ago, I said the only person that's going to benefit from this is Jack Perry, and I'm not wrong. Jack's using it. Jack is, whether you want to admit or not, and whether or not it's in the right way or not, Jack is over. Jack Perry has made a name for himself. He did the scapegoat stuff over in Japan. He really, pushed himself as this new heel character. He's back in AEW now. This thing with Tony, which we'll get more into in a second, I think it's going to work for him. Whether or not that has anything to do with the footage, I think they still get here without the footage, though. I don't think you need that footage because he was already doing the scapegoat shit in Japan. He did the contract ripping up. He was wearing the mask and had the jacket, the Crimea River. He was doing all that stuff before they even released that footage.
I think that releasing the footage turned him into a hero in the world of AEW.
But
because
is that what they need? Is that what
well, they need to expand outside of AEW, but releasing the footage got people to take more notice of AEW than they have in a while.
You know what?
This follow-up, and since they've released the footage, they put out, which is going to be probably in the top 3 best pay-per-views of the year, if not the best pay-per-view in the year in Dynasty, from top to bottom, and that was my punch out of the week last week. And then they followed up with the best angle that they probably ever shot so far, in my opinion. At least the most like the maybe not even like it might not be the best executed. It might, you can laugh at
No,
whatever,
and
but
that's my only
it
issue
is
with
the
it.
hottest angle that they have ever shot. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, 100%. It's getting the most talk, and say what you want. Doesn't matter if people are crapping on something or saying good things. If they're talking, it works.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, yeah, a lot of people are crapping on this storyline. I don't. The people who are crapping on it, I don't think understand it. And if you're just crapping on it because Tony looked so awkward and doesn't know how to work, fine. But guess what? Vince McMahon made himself famous doing this exact angle 25 years ago. And I hate to tell you something, kids, but he couldn't work either.
Well,
That could
now
that
let,
dude couldn't take a stunner to save his life.
let me ask you a question. You said Vince made himself famous doing the same thing. Tony Khan's the babyface here, is he not?
I said last week, I believe it was last week, I
2 weeks
told you
ago.
that, was it 2 weeks ago? I
Yeah.
told you that the best way for them to go forward on this is put Tony into the Vince McMahon role, where you flat out said, no, that's a bad idea. That is what they're doing. They're just doing reverse.
Yeah, but
Instead,
that's what I mean. Tony's a face,
they're
right?
doing they're doing the reverse. Instead of Stone Cold is Jack Perry in this position, except Jack Perry is the heel and Vince McMahon is the face. Tony, it depends on how far they want to go with it. Um, Vince McMahon as that heel character was so easy to hate that they were able to get years out of that program, out of that character. Tony Khan is a face. You're not getting much time out of this. People are not going to cheer for Tony every week. They're not, you know? So it might have been good for 1 week. It depends on where they want to go, but Tony as an on-screen character, they're going to have to find something very special if they want to keep it
I I
going.
don't think we're gonna see Tony as a regular on-screen character. I don't. I think Tony's been he's been on TV, periodically over the last 4 years.
Yeah,
But I think that he's going to be off TV selling this injury, and we'll talk about that in a moment.
sure.
And I don't think we see Tony back until he's ready to announce a blood and guts match to culminate this feud.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd be surprised to see him back, right? Um, I
So
will.
so who's the babyface in the scenario then? Who's gonna be the elite's Stone Cold Steve Austin here?
I think Kenny Omega.
You think Kenny's getting back in the ring though? Like I just heard just a couple
Kenny
weeks ago that Kenny was in really bad shape.
Kenny's coming to Dynamite this week.
Right, but that doesn't mean he's ready to wrestle.
No, but I mean, how many months away do you think he could be? I don't know. They could be working us on that too, right?
Very well could be.
I think Kenny Omega makes a lot of sense to be in there. I think Kenny has to be the person. I don't think that they should have started this angle unless Kenny is close to being ready,
Right.
because like Kenny and Okada is right there,
Yeah.
and that is like
No,
the
and if they
match.
want to do an elite storyline, the two people that make the most sense going up against them are Kenny and Hangman.
Yeah. Now Hangman, I think he's kind of tweening right now as a heel, but
Yeah.
I do think Hangman would be a good
It's
choice to
just
be
that,
in there.
Cody and Marty are both, that's not going to happen.
No,
So the only person really available would be Hangman.
I think Adam Copeland makes a lot of sense to be put in that role as
Mm-hmm.
well. MJF could make a lot of sense to come back if he's healthy, but I've heard he's real banged up as well.
That's what I've heard, yeah.
I also like Chris Jericho in that role because he's Mr.
But
AEW.
but he's fresh off a heel turn, right?
It's Jericho. He could
Yeah.
face heel, whatever. But in my perfect world, I think we do. And it's too bad that he's hurt because I think Darby Allin would be a really good choice
Or
in that role.
yeah.
I'm not a huge Darby fan, but I mean, he's one of the pillars, right?
But he is one of the names that I thought of, and the screwed the broken foot. Now he's got a lot more issues to deal with his accident the other day. So
He just broke
I
his
think
nose, though, eh?
that's all that happened.
Yeah, he pushed his friend out of the way of a bus, and the mirror hit him in the face.
Oh, okay.
But
All
here,
right.
I think we go. This is my final answer. I would like to see Kenny, Hangman, Adam Copeland, and the reuniting of him and Christian together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would like to see that because I think then you've got Christian and the Young Bucks, you've got Okada and Kenny, and you've got Perry and Hangman. That's why I think Darby would be better. So let's hope for Darby.
Possibly one more name if that could come in, especially if Christian's going to come in because Jack Perry's on the other side. Maybe Luchasaurus.
Yeah, or Wardlow.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know
Not
why.
not a big fan
Wardlow.
of Wardlow.
Neither am
But
I,
I was
but
thinking because Luchasaurus he ties into everybody, right? So I
yeah.
just thought, you know,
Yeah, he just doesn't feel big enough.
hmm,
And
I
his
don't know.
name is Killswitch now, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but the other thing I want to
Marco
say,
Stunt.
okay. The last point I want to make before we wrap up this segment is very smart timing, and I heard this was done intentionally for Tony to get laid out on TV because he got a lot of attention at the NFL draft,
Sure
and
did.
the NFL is the biggest player in the world.
Hmm.
So I
But
just thought it
I
was
don't know, man. I'm not impressed with any of that. Uh, the neck brace thing aside, I think it was silly. Kayfabe's been dead for 20 years. I don't know what he's trying to pull. But even if
he's
I didn't have
trying
a
to get
problem with that,
people to talk about him.
sure, which it's working. Put that aside. Where my problem lies, he went on NFL Network and called WWE the Harvey Weinstein of wrestling.
Yeah, that was bad.
That was really dumb.
The thing that I found funniest, and I just thought it was hilarious that he would have his neck brace on, and then he'd just be turning his head, having him
Mm-hmm.
comment. Like that's what I laughed
They
about.
they made they were talking about that. Pat
Pat
McAfee and a bunch of
McAfee.
other guys were talking about it, and that one dude just like, listen, I don't have a problem with this, but if he's gonna play it, play it.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah,
that was good. But I mean, the NFL is the big dog, and a lot of people were talking about it. I got messages from my friends who are not wrestling fans, and
yeah,
I got a phone call from a listener of a good friend of ours, Kerr, former guest of the show, and he was dying laughing, saying, "What is
yeah.
Tony Khan doing?" Right? Got people talking. And then, of course, the WWE comes out and brings Patrick Mahomes on TV for the biggest star, one of the top two biggest stars in the NFL. So, anything you can do, we can do better, I guess, Tony Khan.
I
But
guess so. Yeah,
I'm really happy with this angle. I'm really excited to see what happens going forward. Kenny Omega coming back in Winnipeg this week is going to be awesome. And for all these reasons, so much more, that is why that is my Cottage Springs Punch Out of the Week. Now, Mike.
now, yeah, well, I want to go off something you mentioned. You talked
Yes.
about the Patrick Mahomes angle. I want to ask you something about that. Um, what's your thoughts on Now, Patrick Mahomes is one of the biggest names in football, not just
He
in Kansas City, but
he's in
in
the top
football.
two. He's in the
Yeah.
top because if Travis Kelce wasn't dating Taylor Swift, Patrick Mahomes is the clear cut number one.
Yes.
Next to Joe Burrow, of course, because who day,
Yeah,
baby, who day, baby.
big. But so here's my problem. Do you think it was smart for them to have Mahomes in a heel role in Kansas City?
It wasn't there. They didn't,
I
right?
read that as well. Apparently, this was all put on by Prime. Prime got to call the shots. Logan got to call the shots. But was it smart?
I don't think it matters. Patrick
It
Mahomes just being there was,
was enough.
yeah, it doesn't matter what he did. Like he's Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City.
Yeah.
The only thing that he could do to turn that crowd against him is get in the ring and put on an Oakland Raiders jersey.
Yeah.
Like
On
that guy is a
just,
god. He's a god in Kansas City. Like
just look what
Braun,
happened.
Jay Uso and Braun Strowman are going to be the heels against Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City.
Mhm.
So
In the last, well, that's kind of what I meant. Like should Patrick Mahomes been against Logan rather than helping Logan?
then Prime's going to get their panties in a twist, right?
Logan Paul is Prime.
Yeah, and Patrick Mahomes is the biggest
Yeah,
face of Prime.
I don't know.
Eh,
He's
it's
That's his
it's
character. He's a heel. I don't know.
It's WWE. A lot of people think Patrick Mahomes is a heel in the NFL too. Everyone says that
Yeah.
he's the crybaby of the referees, right?
That his wife is a heel.
Yeah. Basically, if you don't live in Kansas City, everybody thinks Patrick Mahomes is a heel. So,
What's next?
well, you said you had something you
Yeah.
wanted to ask me about AEW.
Yeah. I think there was a couple things. I'm trying to remember what they were now. I know one is I want to talk about Hook
All
and
right.
the Jericho angle, but mostly Hook himself.
Oh, sorry, I
You
just fell asleep talking about it.
okay? So you pretty much answered my question. They're trying to push Hook like he's the next big thing. They're trying to push Hook like he's going to be a massive superstar here. They got him in a story with Chris Jericho, where I watched this and I'm like, Chris Jericho could crush him without breathing. Like, what are they doing here? It's none of it's believable, and I just don't understand the draw to Hook. I was hoping, as somebody who actually watches AEW more regularly than I do, can you explain to me what the appeal to Hook is?
I can't because I've never got it.
Yeah.
Not that I dislike Hook. I just like I don't look at him and see a guy that could kill people. Like they
Well,
want to
that's
push him.
you
Like when I
know,
looked at Taz, like they're trying to market him like, Taz.
yeah,
But I thought
but
Taz could murder people.
exactly. Because yes, was Taz short? Sure, but Taz was bulky and strong and
Taz was
muscular, and
jacked to the
and and,
gills.
and, and he would kill you. Um, the you know, I don't have a problem with small wrestlers. Everybody knows how much I love Marco Stunt. Marco
Who?
Stunt is one of my favorite indie guys. I love Marco Stunt for years. I wouldn't put Marco Stunt in matches against guys who can murder him.
I've
I
got a
wouldn't put, you know what I mean, though?
let me sidebar off to what you're talking about. I got a bigger problem with the AEW fan base and the wrestling fan base turning on Chris Jericho right now. Mainly the AEW fan base. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about anything from a personal standpoint
He's
because
retire cancer.
I, well, I've also heard that, Jericho might not be the best person in real life. I've heard
Yeah.
some, but
I
I don't
don't
know
doubt it.
that. I don't
No,
know that, and I don't know him, and I don't really
that's
care
not
about any of that right
my.
now. I want to talk about Chris Jericho, the AEW performer, not even the wrestler. Because if you're talking about Chris Jericho, the wrestler, then all the AEW fans can stick it. But if you're talking about just Chris Jericho, the AEW wrestler,
Mhm.
also all the AEW fans can stick it. Chris Jericho is one of the pillars and the founding reasons why AEW is where it is today, why it
100%.
is a successful company.
Yes.
He was brought in to be the first world champion for a reason.
Yeah.
I cannot even I can't count the number of people that he has helped legitimize into top stars in AEW.
Agreed.
Darby Allin,
Mhm.
Jericho had his hands on him. Jungle Boy,
Yep.
Jericho had his hands on him. MJF, Jericho had his hands on him. Orange Cassidy,
I was just about to say orange. Yeah.
Orange Cassidy was a joke in the world of professional wrestling. A very talented man, but people looked at him as a joke. This
Yep.
guy should never be on TV. Why is he here? Until he feuded with Chris Jericho, and it
100%.
changed his whole character.
And then
I
look at
could
the
I
people
could
who have
keep
aligned
going.
with them. Look at Sammy. You
Sammy
know.
Guevara, Ortiz,
Yep.
Santana, all
Mhm.
these people, Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
now AEW fans are telling him to retire. Why? The guy is holding the most meaningless title in wrestling in the mid card, trying to elevate a talent that needs the rub.
Yep.
It's beneath Jericho, in all honesty. Not that I think
Well,
Jericho should be a main event player, but I mean,
no,
he's,
he's doing his job at this point. His job is now to prepare the next generation, and he's doing his job very well. And he's been doing that job for 5 years.
yeah, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. And
If you
AEW
look at,
fans can kiss my
if you want to
ass.
know, if you want to know some of my problems with Jericho, now I haven't been the biggest fan of Jericho in AEW. His stuff has been off and on with me personally, but I appreciate what he's been doing for the business. If I'm going to nitpick, here's my only problem with what's happening right now. This whole learning tree gimmick,
Yeah, okay, it's not the
it
greatest.
looks No, but it's not horrible. But I can already see where it's leading, and it's going to lead to people coming under the learning tree, which is going to form a new stable.
Huh?
In 5 years, this man's had 3 stables.
Yeah, but he's in his 50s. Let him.
Yeah, I think it. I just think it's dumb. I think it's like
What's the stables that he's been in? He was in the pin
the inner circle,
the inner circle.
and the Jericho Appreciation Society, or whatever
Yeah,
it's called, and now this will be the learning tree,
if it goes there.
which I believe it will.
By the way,
I,
the
I don't
Jericho
know.
Appreciation Society was amazing.
Yeah, but
And
I don't think his whole run in AEW has to be stable after stable after stable.
ah, he's had long singles runs as well, though.
Like I said, nitpicking. That's the only thing I can nitpick here.
I I
Anybody else who
just
wants him to retire, and I hate those chants regardless. I don't care who the wrestler is. They were chanting that at Big Show 15 years ago. When fans started chanting for people to retire, or even when people were saying, fans would be like, "Oh, I want Undertaker to have one last match," and other people would be like, "Oh, just he should never have another last match," or "Oh, Mick Foley wants to have a last match. Screw that. He should never have a last match." Every wrestler should do what they want to do. If they want to
I
retire,
will stand on my hill that I don't think McFoley should have done it. And I'm glad he's not, only because of the
but it's not your
injuries.
call. At the end of the day,
No, it's not.
it's
But
the wrestler.
it's
It's the wrestler's call.
when I
It's
say
okay if
that,
you have no interest in seeing it. That's fine.
but
But
when
for
I
people
say
to be
it
like,
though,
"Oh, retire," come
no,
on.
but when I say that for McFoley though, it's not because I don't think I was like, oh, it's gonna be bad. I don't care if it's good or bad. I just genuinely care about McFoley, and I know all the head injuries that he's had over his career, and
Yeah, and I mean
I just because I care for him as a human being. It's the same thing like how Dana White had to pull Chuck Liddell and make him retire. It's because he cared for him as a human being.
and
That's
to
why I
me
didn't want to see Foley.
that's what I'm talking about. That's the difference. If as long as a promoter will still pay you money to perform, it is what it is. Fans, I don't think fans have any right to be like, you should retire. If the promoters are still saying, yeah, you can go, then they can go.
And Jericho, by the way, can still go. That guy's
Yeah,
still
right.
having great fucking matches.
Yeah. No, fans are just fickle.
Yes.
Horrible.
Do you want to talk about the draft at all?
I have one question about the draft, comment about the draft, because I'm seeing a lot of criticism about the draft. And I'm going to try to be the devil's advocate against that criticism. The main criticism that I'm reading is people really mad that a lot of the draft picks are picked in the brand that they already were part of. Okay. So everybody's saying, how boring of a draft. No one's going anywhere. I think you're missing a deeper meaning here. You're missing something here. To me, what I see when I see that is if I'm a general manager of a program and I have this great wrestler with me, I want to keep him.
Absolutely.
So I draft that wrestler to stay here so he can't go to the competition. That's what I see. But everybody else online is just going crazy, going, what a waste of a draft. What a dumb draft. I think it's just a little bit more complex than people are seeing.
I also do believe, and I don't know if I'm just being hopeful here, but I do believe that this draft, like I don't think we're gonna see jumping back and forth anymore.
I think we already.
How?
I know somebody got drafted and then went to their other show already.
Yeah,
Can't
but
remember
the
who it was.
draft hasn't taken effect yet. Like it's not
Oh, okay.
finalized until a certain day. I think it's
Okay.
after the pay-per-view this weekend.
Sure. Okay.
So, but I mean, like, if people like if CM Punk's just gonna show up on SmackDown, then like who cares about the draft in general?
Yeah.
But
Agreed.
if CM Punk's only gonna be on Raw, then I'm pumped up about it. You know, if Cody's only gonna be on SmackDown going forward, okay, cool. Do you think it's a mistake, by the way, to have Cody on SmackDown and Priest on Raw? Or is SmackDown
No. No.
or is I don't know, that was my Google going off. I don't know what that was.
No. I think you do need like a world champion on each brand.
No, I know, but do you think Cody should be on Raw?
No.
You think
No. Because with
Is SmackDown the bigger show now? Because it's on
um
Fox?
they need a Cody because they lost Roman.
Yeah,
They need
fair,
Cody. Yeah,
fair. That's
that was
fair.
Roman's show for the
Well,
last
I mean, I
5 years.
think as long as Cody's on one show and Punk's on the other show, it doesn't really matter,
Exactly.
right? Like
Exactly.
they're the top two, right? And
Yeah.
Rhea's up there, but
And,
she's hurt.
and WWE's hurting right now, right? With Seth out and I don't know if is Owens out.
No, he's good.
Owens is okay. Seth's out, CM Punk's out. I heard that Drew might be hurt. I don't know about
Yeah,
that.
Drew's a little banged up.
So they really need both shows to have elevated people. So Cody on SmackDown, I think, is the right move.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool. I'm okay with that. Yeah, I don't know. I hope that we see the brand separate a little bit.
sure.
I would like that. I think that would make things good.
Yeah. Other than that, man, I haven't really cared about the draft since like '07. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's been some pretty cool draft moments over the years, but it's really been meaningless the last few years.
you know what I almost want to see? I want to see a real draft. I want them to start specifically drafting from NXT,
Hmm.
just like real. I hate saying real sports, but like other sports do. The NHL and the NFL, they draft from colleges and from minor leagues.
Yeah, but then you'd have no NXT roster and you
But
overpopulate your main roster.
they, but the roster's always turning over. They're always bringing new people in. So rather than just have people appear on Raw during the year, Raw and SmackDown get to draft, let's say, 5 people each once a year.
And they stay
You
in
know?
NXT until they want
And
to.
they stay in NXT until the draft date. And if you don't get drafted, good luck next year.
Yeah. I feel like that will get forgotten though, like out of sight, out of
Yeah.
mind. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I think it could make NXT a little bit more important.
Yeah.
Like it'll like
I
it'll
think
really feel like a developmental system. It'll really feel like a farm system.
they've done a good job with NXT lately and rotating main stars back throughout there, and it doesn't feel like a demotion.
Oh
It
yeah.
just feels
Other than
like
Braun Breaker, can you name a single person on that show?
that Drago guy is really good. Carmelo Hayes came from there. Trick Williams. I don't watch it, but I like that they've got Natty in there working with the young girls now.
Yes, I like that too.
And they had Gallows and Anderson back there working with the tag teams, Baron Corbin.
And Corbin over there, yeah.
I like that
But
they circle people down.
yeah, but is Corbin got drafted back up, right?
Corbin got drafted back up. Sounds like it's going to get repackaged.
Yeah, because they broke up him and Braun, right? So,
Mm-hmm. All right.
all
What do you
right,
think? You want to get to
what
a
are you thinking?
list?
Yeah, I think it's
I don't
time.
have anything else I want to talk about.
Oh, it's been a blase week in wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also like um, it's go home to a pay-per-view.
I'm excited for Backlash. AJ
So yeah,
AJ and Cody, somebody's been listening to our show on the WWE because I said
yeah, no
that the
kidding.
night after WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think Backlash can be really good. So I think we're gonna have things to talk about next week for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Talking about my list. My list, of course, if you missed the top of the show, we're doing the best storylines of the new generation era. So that's 1993 through 1997, specifically the WWF.
And this
This
is
is what
going to the end of 97.
yes, I don't know where you actually say the Attitude Era starts. There's a lot of conflicting opinions. Some people say it started right after Survivor Series. Some people say it doesn't start until WrestleMania 14. I'm just gonna
Where are you
I'm
cutting
just
it?
gonna I I don't know where I cut it. So I'm just saying all of 93 and all of 97
All
count.
right. So end of 97 is where you cut it.
For this list, for the purpose of this list, yes.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, because even 93, like you could claim the beginning of 93 is still the golden era, right?
Yeah. I look at the new generation of 94 personally,
Okay. Um
but I'll allow
it's
93.
officially classified in WWF as mid 93.
I'll allow 93.
All right, so let's do this, man. This is one of my favorite
Wait,
eras in wrestling.
before I ask you this, before you get into the list, let me ask you one question about the new generation. Who was the
Okay.
face of the new generation?
Bret Hart.
Agreed.
Shawn,
Okay.
Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart. Bret Hart.
I think
Shawn
Brett.
Michaels,
I think
Bret
Brett
Hart.
was the face or Diesel.
Yeah.
Meh, meh.
Yeah. Shawn was like the tail end, but
When I
Yeah,
think of new generation, I think Bret Hart era.
yeah. I think it was Brett. So we're going to start number 7 with a guy who was almost the face of the new generation. I think Vince McMahon wanted this man to be the face of the new generation. It just didn't turn out, but he had a hell of a storyline getting almost to that point. We're going to start with the storyline of Lex Luger body slamming the giant local Yokozuna
Hell yeah.
and going on to the Lex Express.
Get me on the Lex Express. I will take a round trip ticket to the Palace of Auburn Hills in Detroit, Michigan. Get me to SummerSlam. How the hell do you not put Lex Luger over at SummerSlam? And even more importantly, how do you give him a celebration like he won the Super Bowl after a count out win?
Right.
Like, what are we doing here?
This storyline had all the makings to make Lex Luger the face of the WWE, the next Hulk Hogan. And I think that was 100% Vince McMahon's idea. It just didn't pan out that way. But
So, what a great angle to start this too. The body slam challenge on the USS Intrepidor.
you have so many people trying to body slam Yoko, and if you didn't know who was actually going to win this competition, it might be the guy who made his entrance in a freaking helicopter. Like they did not pull any punches with Lex Luger. They're like, we're going to get Lex Luger over.
This came out of
And
left field too, because he was a heel at the time.
he was still the narcissist
Yeah.
right up until the last minute. Then he gets off the plane. He's wearing these American flag pants, and it's like,
No, he's
what's going
wearing
on here?
jeans and an American flag shirt. I'll never forget it.
Oh, okay, all
Yeah,
right,
the pants came later.
yeah. And I remember hearing so many stories. Apparently, because they're on a boat in the middle of the ocean, and the sun is just beating down,
Mhm.
and that ring is hot.
Yeah, Yoko burned his feet up.
Yoko had second-degree burns on the bottom of his feet because
Yeah,
he was the guy spending all the time in the ring. And as you know, Yokozuna didn't wear shoes. So
I heard that as well.
he's in excruciating pain at this
And he
point.
can't sell it because he's the
No,
unsellable monster.
at this point, is Yoko the biggest heel in WWE?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure, eh?
Yeah. He's the world
Yeah.
champion, right? He's the
And
foreign heel.
he's the monster. Like
Mm.
they were
He was
feeding
really
him.
well booked, Yoko.
They're 100%. They were feeding him everybody. He's one of the rare guys that made Undertaker look weak. You know, this guy was unstoppable. And then you bring in the All American hero. The days of Hulkamania are coming to an end. Who's going to fill the shoes of Hulk Hogan? Brett's not quite there yet. 92,
Lexomania, brother.
92 was a great year for Brett, and Brett's almost there. He's just not quite there yet. So they have Lex Luger to fill that spot, and Lex comes out. That body slam is, I believe someone once called it the body slam heard around the world, and that is the best way to describe it because I think everybody was talking about it. Even people out of the wrestling world were talking about what Lex Luger did to Yokozuna.
Now, some people may call that a hip toss if you're Bobby Heenan. Okay, let me put you on the spot, Mike. It's SummerSlam 1993. You got the book right now, and you got to take us to book me from SummerSlam to a main event in WrestleMania. Do you put Lex Luger over? And if you do, who does he work at Mania?
Now I don't know the reasons why Luger didn't get the win or why he didn't get the push. If there was
Vince wanted to wait
backstage,
till Mania.
that was it. That was his issue.
Vince was like, no, it'll be bigger at Mania. And the crowd chose Brett instead.
Okay, because I do put Brett over at SummerSlam or Luger over in SummerSlam.
So do I.
But the smart money, I guess, is just a rematch with him and Yoko at WrestleMania. I'm trying to think of who he could face at WrestleMania. Unfortunately, sorry, Brett, but
I'm not taking you away from Owen.
I'm not doing face. I'm not doing face versus face. Do you give Yoko his second win of the Royal Rumble?
Yeah, I think so. I think Yoko and Lex would have been a good call.
And do you have Yoko still win at WrestleMania,
Ooh.
or does Lex retain?
Who did Yoko drop the belt to after this? Oh, he dropped it to Brett that night.
Brett that night, yeah.
Yeah, I think he just pushed everything back a little bit, maybe.
I have an idea.
Put Brett over at King of the Ring.
I think he beats Yoko, eventually turns heel and sides with Mr. Fuji. And now you have Brett's big heel to go up against to get his title.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm fantasy booking though, I still want to get to Brett and Hogan at SummerSlam 90. Oh, that's 93. Never mind. Yeah, I don't hate it. All right, that was my question.
And you know, we're really focusing on the Intrepid here, but let's not forget about the Lex Express, because those promo packages that was selling it, man.
I loved it. I loved everything about the Lex Express.
You want to talk about who's the face of the face of the new generation? These two guys in my number 6, I think, both have a strong case to run for it. Whether or not they were can be argued, but they have a strong case. Definitely two of the best wrestlers in WWF in this era of time. I don't know if you're going to agree with me that this is a good enough storyline to be on the list, but I really liked it. I'm going with the storyline of Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon.
Yeah.
With the Intercontinental title. Shawn gets stripped of the Intercontinental title, gets suspended in real life, and then when he comes back, he's holding his Intercontinental title. In the interim, Razor had won the title, and he comes back saying, this is mine. And it's a great story, not only going into WrestleMania 10, but continuing on for pretty much the entire year.
Uh-huh.
Like 94 was a big year for Shawn and Razor.
Yeah, and it led to one of the most famous matches in the history of wrestling. So, I mean, yeah, I like this angle. I think it's a good spot. Number 6, number 7 spot. I probably would have thought about putting it in there as well.
Yeah, the 6 and 7 could have been interchangeable. I wasn't sure which way to go, but
I mean, did Razor Ramon have his own bus?
Well, no, he didn't. But I think I put this because the matches were better.
Yes, they were.
You know, I think that's why I went with this, because you can sit down, watch this storyline. If you watch the Luger and Yoko storyline, you're watching a body slam and a bunch of promos.
Hey, he's got a forearm.
And the forearm. You watch the storyline with Shawn and Razor. You're watching a lot of really good matches.
Speaking of Razor, have you listened to the Chris Van Vliet interview with Will Sasso?
I have. Man, that guy's impressions are nuts.
Everybody's raving about the Razor, but to me, my favorite one he did, Jake the Snake.
Oh, I'm not sure I heard his Jake.
It was right at the end. He did a Jake the Snake, and he did Will, right at the end, he asked him to be, Van Vliet was like, what would Jesse Ventura sound like ordering a coffee? And I just die. You have to go out of your way.
His Ventura is legendary.
It's right at the end of the interview.
I don't know. Who do you think does a better Ventura? Karrion Kross or Will Sasso?
That's the $1 million question. Van Vliet actually tweeted that to Ventura, and Jesse answered. I can't remember who he picked though.
That's funny.
But yes, anyways, that was my Scott Hall. So yeah, so far so good on your list. I don't hate it so far.
Movie I'm gonna have, I'm not gonna lie to you. This is my one where I actually question whether I made the right choice or not, but it's too late. My list is made. I'm gonna go with it. Yeah, I'm really questioning this one. We're gonna go with the story of Steve Austin versus Brian Pillman.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't like the placement of it.
Neither do I. I'm not sold that I made the right choice, but I put the list down and I said I was sticking with my list, so I stuck with my list. In hindsight, I probably should have made this my number 7, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I don't know if this makes my list or not, but I love the angle.
It is a great angle. The only reason why I'm trepidatious on whether or not I should have put it on or not is because it wasn't a long angle.
Well, and it was more so part of the Bret Hart, Steve Austin. Part of the
Bret stuff, yeah. But it did breed its own life, which I loved. It came very hot off of the King of the Ring stuff. Excuse me. Very hot off the King of the Ring stuff where he dubbed Austin 316. And then, Brian Pillman says that famous line when Austin 316 meets Pillman Glock 55 or whatever the hell he said. That became an extremely famous part of that promo. Even more, though, I think they made very famous that the move that for years they called the Pillmanization.
Pillmanizer.
The Pillmanizer, putting the ankle in the chair and stomping on it. A move you still see done today. That's the first time I'm ever seeing it. And it was a great way to write Brian off of television. Because
I like the little details about this feud. Like you mentioned, King of the Ring '96, where Austin cut the promo. Well, right before the finals, Pillman cut a promo at ringside, and as he was walking back, Austin was making his entrance. Yeah. Pillman would always put over Austin, and Austin would always give him a dirty look. The promo where Bret Hart said, "I'm coming back to the WWF, and I'm going to fight Steve Austin." Yeah. Pillman celebrated in the back, and Austin got pissed at him. So it's Pillman pushed his buttons, and Austin snapped and beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And then the gun angle, I forgot it. That's you know what? I don't know about number 5, but I could make the list. They had a decent match on Raw '97 too. Austin pissed on his head too.
Yes, forgot about that. The thing I love about this is how subtle it is. Because they never actually mentioned or talked about their partnership in WCW. But if you in '96, if you were watching and you already knew, if you knew about the Hollywood Blondes, there were little clues, little hints dropped every once in a while. Especially Pillman would drop little things about their friendship and about, stuff like that. And Jim Ross is super smart. Jim Ross would always drop little tidbits here and there. So if you were a fan that watched WCW as well, you were like, it was a cool thing. I really liked it.
Yeah. It got me sold a little bit more on this.
All right. Moving on to number 4. Again, let's talk about the faces of the new generation. The only 2 men who could really be the faces. We're doing Bret versus Shawn Michaels here, because this story is told all through the new generation, which I love.
Yeah.
They battled for the Intercontinental title. Then they battled for the world title. And then, Bret leaves for a little bit to do his Lonesome Dove stuff, and Shawn does his thing. Then Bret comes back, and Shawn disappears to find a smile. But then Shawn comes back, and they're head to head again, and it turns into one of the most important storylines of all time. And it culminates so many other storylines at the same time. Bret's having a great story with The Undertaker, and Shawn gets involved in that, which really elevates Shawn's next, heel move. Without this storyline, you don't get the Generation X. Without this storyline, you don't get the curtain or the screw job. Without this storyline, you don't get Mr. McMahon. There's so many pivotal things that happen that spawn from Shawn versus Bret.
It's not my favorite. I'm not going to lie. I don't disagree with it being on your list at all. I'm just saying from a personal standpoint.
Would you still be saying that in '96, '97?
I like their '96 feud leading into WrestleMania. I liked the training videos. I liked, who's the bigger wrestler. I liked the heel turn of Bret and beating up Shawn. I like that. The lose your smile stuff. I like that.
Well, let's talk about that as well. This storyline leads into the reformation of the Hart Foundation, which is so important.
Well, that was more to it than I don't know if I think that was more of a Steve Austin thing than a Shawn Michaels thing.
You think so?
Yeah, personally. But I cannot stand the build to Survivor Series '97. I cannot stand DX at this time, and for that reason alone, it would go higher on my list.
You can't stand DX in '97 now. Tell me you didn't love them in '97.
I didn't like DX till '98. Really? I liked DX in '98. Once X-Pac and Triple H, because I like Triple H.
Sure.
And I love when X-Pac came over and the Outlaws.
With Rick Rude and with really.
I was a Bret Hart guy, man. I was a Bret Hart guy through and through.
See, and I wasn't. Yeah.
And I hated that. But I was a big New Age Outlaws guy in '97. I
Yeah.
like when the New Age Outlaws first started teaming,
Yeah.
when they dressed up as South Park, I jumped
Yeah.
on. I was like day one New Age Outlaws. So
Sure.
then when X-Pac and Triple H and the Outlaws formed, I was like, well, here we go. This is everything I love in life. So yeah, but I was a Bret Hart guy. So no, I was not a Shawn Michaels guy. I was bleeding that red and white, baby.
All right. All right. See, by now, I'm really not a Brett guy because I was an Owen guy for years,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was a Steve Austin guy.
See,
So
like
Brett was always against my guys.
I'm like thinking about like your list now, and I just like I feel like there's some big stuff missing, and I'm curious to see what your top two are. Because I
Well,
gotta be thinking we're all talking Bret Hart here.
I have top three.
Oh, sorry, top three. That was your number four.
That was my number four. And yeah, we are still going to talk about Brett a bit because my number three is two guys we just talked about. We're doing Brett versus Austin.
Oof, number three.
Yeah.
Ooh,
You think it should be my top two?
I don't know. I can't pinpoint where I would put it between my one and three because it could make a
Okay.
case for one, two, and three.
I think my one and two are locks for me. So
Bret,
um,
Bret
you're
Hart,
gonna.
and
I can already tell you're gonna hate my number one.
I've. If it doesn't involve Bret Hart, then I think you're out to lunch. But we'll
Yeah.
go. We'll get there.
All right. Yeah, you're gonna hate my number one.
This is one of my favorite feuds of all time, Bret Hart
One
and
hundred
Steve
percent.
Austin.
100%. I just
If
think I think the other two are better. That's all.
like I can't go back and forth because I'm just speculating at this point, but I don't never know with you. But
Yeah.
like I know like Bret and Owen have to be on here somewhere in your one or two spot. And I just can't go back and forth on which feud I thought was better, Bret or Owen or Bret or Austin.
Yeah.
But this feud's incredible.
It is, and of course, it culminates in what I consider to be the greatest match in WWE history. Um, so,
It doesn't culminate there. It keeps going after
well, no,
that.
it does keep going, but
They culminate at Canadian Stampede, in
yeah,
all honesty.
which again is another one of the greatest matches of this era.
I think I put this as my number one.
Really,
I think
you're
I
gonna
might.
hate. Oh, I can't wait to get to number one. You're gonna be so mad.
Well, you're already
Love
missing
it,
a big one that I think should be on
love
your
it,
list, and you're gonna
love it,
hate my suggestion, but that's
love
okay.
it, love it, love it. So let's talk about Brett and Austin here. How it starts. Brett's gone. What was he doing? Was he doing Lonesome Dove?
I don't know I think he was contract negotiating.
He was, but I think he was out. I think he was out doing Lonesome Dove.
No, Lonesome Dove was 94. That's why he took time off for the after Survivor Series with the I
Oh,
Quit match with Backlund. He just
oh,
was,
okay.
I think it was time off.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
I could have swore he was doing TV.
I'm sure he was doing something, but
Yeah. So anyways, he's not there though. And Austin's chirping him every week.
you put the letter S in front of Hitman and you get exactly what I mean.
And man, it just turns into this match at Survivor Series, which man,
One
those
of
two
the
couldn't have a bad match.
That match is so criminally underrated. It is
It's only
probably
underrated because their match at WrestleMania is so good that that you forget about it. But you know, it's still probably one of the top 10 greatest matches of the 90s.
yeah, it's 100% it is. It's in the top probably two or three best matches of
You know, I've
1996.
said this 1,000 times. I come on here and shit talk Bret Hart all the time, and I talk about how much I can't stand Bret Hart. But you want to talk about 1990s? He's probably in at least 7 of my top 10 favorite matches of the decade.
Yeah, you're about ready to take him and Will Ospreay out for dinner.
Right? Oh no, I could never spend time with the man. That
Oh, I
would
would
be
love to.
excruciating.
I would just
Really? You ready?
listen.
You ready for just 4 hours of I hate Bill Goldberg?
Yes, absolutely, I am. Who's not? I would just want to talk to him about Stu Hart for like 3 hours.
Yeah. But what is your favorite part of this story?
Oh God, everything. I love this feud
How
from top to bottom.
do you
The
think where do you think where do you think they are between saying, okay, we're going to do this? Let's say so the first match is in November. Let's say in September, they know they're going to do this,
Oh, I think
right?
they knew they were working together as soon as like the summertime. Because Brett
Okay.
was doing tours still. He did the Kuwait
Yeah.
Cup and worked with Austin in the summertime.
Oh, okay. So let's say August, okay? Let's start in August. Where between August and March do they decide that they're going to do the double turn?
Probably February.
You think so?
I don't
Yeah.
think that wasn't in the cards.
No.
I don't think anyone could.
Like when they get to Survivor Series, I don't think that was even an idea.
No,
No.
but at the time too, though, Brett was a huge babyface at Survivor Series,
Yes.
and Austin was still a heel.
Yeah.
But Austin became this badass shit talker, swearing, and Brett started kind of complaining a little bit. Why are
Yeah.
you guys cheering a buffoon like this? Like I'm a hero. Like, and then all of a sudden it just made sense to switch. That's why I think this should be the number one. Like you start at Survivor Series with and just the storytelling and the hatred, the Royal Rumble 97 with Austin dumping him out illegally, Final Four. You have great matches at Revenge of the Taker, WrestleMania, all the way up to Canadian Stampede, the Austin attacking the Hart Foundation when they had the national anthem going. Like I love Brett and Owen, but I think Brett and Austin is one of the greatest pieces of business the WWF's ever done.
I'm not going to argue with you. Like I said, my list is what it is. If you could probably switch some of the numbers around, and I wouldn't be upset. But
And it's funny too though because
it came down.
a lot of people think that the new generation ended Survivor Series 1996.
Well, no,
I think 97 is when we I
I,
don't cla
I don't. The Gadget era doesn't happen until at least DX is on the scene.
Yeah, but it wasn't new generation anymore in 97 either. It was
Do you
like
think there's
this
like
in
this space of
between.
purgatory between? Yeah, because
Yeah,
because you're right, because they were slowly doing things a little bit different, and it started. Everybody wants to say it started with Austin or it started with DX. I think it started with Gold Dust, and so
Goldust
you're
was the end of 95.
95 exactly. So I
I
think,
no, new generation was booming strong in 96 with Sean.
but I think that's where the seeds of
Yeah,
getting over
Goldust
that
was the first controversial
were,
guy,
were planted.
but
You
like
know,
that New York crowd turning on Sean, putting Sid over, and then like by the end, I think like December of 96, like we weren't in the Attitude Era yet, but
yeah.
that was the end of the new generation because 97 felt edgier. We had ECW come in, we had the
Mm-hmm.
Blood at WrestleMania, the rise of the Hart Foundation, Austin going crazy, like the Nation. Like
Yeah.
97 was edgy.
Yes, it was. But it was just an edgier part of the new generation because they did still call it the new generation.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
All right, my number one and two
I
have
don't even have a
switched,
clue. Like I
have
know which one
flipped.
of these have to be.
They flipped and switched 1,000 times. I keep saying you're going to hate my number one, but I think I'm doing one last switch and you're not going to hate it anymore. My number two, no, fuck it. I'm sticking with my list. I don't care if you're mad at me. My number two is the only storyline on this list that literally spanned the entire new generation. This went from 1994, technically 1993, all the way to 1997. And we're talking about the family affair between Brett and Owen.
See, I disagree a little bit. Like they feuded heavily for a
But
portion
they
of
were
it.
always, yes. And then, but even in that like era of like 96 where they weren't feuding, there was always he was always taking shots at his brother
Yeah.
when the feud was always there. It may have not been active; they weren't having matches, but Owen was always taking little jabs at Brett. If Brett was being successful, Owen would take a little shot in a promo or something like that. The feud was always there, and then I count it when because the storyline goes into him Brett going and reuniting Bulldog and Owen, saying, "You guys are family. Stop acting like this," and they become a family again. I
You're my
count,
brother. I love you.
I count, and that turns into the rest of 1997 as them as a unit. Um, from all the way from the end of '93 to now, like holy crap, man.
I give it like to me, I look at that feud as the end of 93 until August of 94. And then
Mhm.
maybe even September of 94 because Owen threw the towel in. But
Yeah.
after that, like that was it for me. Like their feud, they would just take shots at each other like verbally, but they didn't
Yeah. So the
interact
feud was
again.
always there. It was just, but so, okay, even if you don't agree with my timeline, let's just count end of 93
I also
to,
have this as my number two.
okay, this
I
is
don't know
one of
what
the
your number
greatest
one is.
storylines. And that's fine. I'm ready for the heat. I don't care anymore. Um, you, this is one of the most captivating storylines of all time, as far as I'm concerned,
Yep.
because everybody knows I love a long build. I love that this spanned for so much time and brought in so many entities. They brought in the whole family on this one. You know, Bulldog's involved, Anvil's involved,
Mhm.
Stu and Helen are involved.
Bruce.
It's you know, Bruce is involved. I'm sure nobody wanted him, but Bruce was
It was
involved.
Bruce's idea. Bruce
Well,
pitches.
he wanted it to be himself.
Yeah, he pitched it for
Yeah,
him and Brett was
yeah.
like,
And Brett's like, no,
I'm gonna do it
I'll
with
do it with
Owen.
Nolan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it with Owen.
But which was the right call because Owen, without a doubt, is one of the best wrestlers of this era.
100%.
And Brett and Sean or Brett and Owen always got great matches out of each other. Um, their match at WrestleMania is one of my favorite matches in history. It really is. And then but this whole feud, you can take shots, you can make fun of the kick your leg from under your leg crap all you want. I don't care. Owen had some great promos during this.
Oh my God, yeah, the promo of him in the cage, like
Yeah,
the stare at the end of WrestleMania 10,
one of the best things ever.
the
One of the
match
best
at
WrestleMania
WrestleMania
moments.
10. Yeah,
Yeah,
the match at WrestleMania 10, absolutely. This
a
great
lot of,
rivalry.
a lot of people crap on the cage match. I like the cage match.
I don't crap
Uh,
on it. I don't, it's not my favorite cage match of all time, but it's damn good.
I really like it. I know a lot of people have a problem with the way it ended. I
I
liked the
love the
ending.
ending. I thought it was
Me too.
great.
I thought it was a great finish. Owen goes down as one of my top three favorite wrestlers of all time.
Yeah.
And this storyline is where it started for me. It really did. I was a fan of the Rocket. Like when I was a
Me
kid, I
too. I
watched,
was a fan of
you
Blue
know,
Blazer. I didn't even
yeah, me
know
too.
it was Owen.
I watched, you know, I loved High Energy. You know, I loved the New Foundation.
Mhm.
And then when Owen turned at Survivor Series, I remember thinking I should be mad, but kind of get it. Brett screwed Owen. like Owen, I was on Owen's side, and I'm only like a 11-year-old kid at this point. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking, you know, I'm kind of like this is weird. I shouldn't be rooting for Owen here, but I understand.
As the older brother in the family, I am on Brett's side. Owen, you need to get your shit together, all right? Okay, I need to
And
know. I'm dying
with that
here.
said,
What's
time
your?
for the heat.
I have no
I'm
idea what your
waiting.
number one
I'm
is
ready. You're gonna hate it, and I love this.
because there's
I'm ready.
two. I've got two angles in my head that I think should be on your list that I don't think, or at least should be considered. That, and I don't think either one of them are going to be your number one.
So technically, this is three storylines that combine to each other, but there's one storyline that is the central point to it all. It starts with one, the middle one is the important one, and it ends with one. But we're going, it's the Undertaker's feud with Paul Bearer. We're doing Undertaker feuding with Mankind, Paul Bearer turning on him, then the bringing in of Kane. This whole run from 96 to 97 is just a work
It
of
should be
art.
on your list, and I think the top three or top four. I can't give you number one over Brett and
It's
Austin though.
I'm gonna stand by my list here and say that it's definitely one of my favorite storylines of all time. So if maybe I'm thinking with my heart too much and saying it's my number one because it's my favorite, but I do think it is a great storyline, especially for this era of wrestling, of what this era of wrestling was. You could get away with these storylines at this point. And in 1996, Mankind was scary.
Yeah,
In 1996, Paul Bearer turned on the Undertaker.
Paul
Was
Bear is scary to me
not
since I saw him at the Newmarket Rec Complex and he yelled at me and stole my popcorn.
Paul Bearer turning on Undertaker in 1996 was not on anybody's bingo card. You know what I mean? Like these things weren't supposed to happen. And then everything Paul Bearer did as a heel, the going into Buried Alive, going into the you have a brother, all this stuff. It's amazing stuff. It's great storytelling. And it's some of my favorite stuff. It's some of the stuff that kept me a fan as a teenager.
I like the angle, but I don't think it's the best. It's not. I don't know. I was never like I always like Undertaker, but he wasn't like I never resonated with him.
Yeah, well, Undertaker was my guy.
Yeah, so I
Undertaker
get,
was my guy.
but let me
Um,
ask you a question then.
yeah,
Undertaker's your guy.
yeah.
Talking about new generation storylines.
Mhm.
Why is Undertaker versus Undertaker not in your top seven?
You just answered your own question.
What a great storyline.
Yeah, it's an honorable mention. It's not a top seven
Number
storyline.
seven, Undertaker versus Undertaker. Come on, it starts at the casket match,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And then DiBiase is
I
like,
guess
I
maybe if the
got the
match was a little bit better,
Undertaker.
I would have considered
Match
it. But
sucked. Yeah, who
yeah,
cares? Leslie Nielsen was involved in it. Come on, man.
I just love how much Ted DiBiase was involved in Undertaker's career.
Yeah, that's
You know what I mean?
I'm
Yeah.
not lying though when I say like I know everyone's like, oh, Undertaker, Undertaker. Yeah, okay, the match sucked. And the
No,
idea
but
is
the storyline, I do think they made it a little too goofy having Leslie
towards
Nielsen.
the end, yeah, but Leslie Nielsen didn't get added till the end, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, like the promos that DiBiase and Bearer would do, and the fake Undertaker, and Paul Bearer would come out and hold the urn up, and he would start to walk towards him, and then DiBiase would hold the money up, and he would snap back over. Like I liked what they did.
I have two little subtle things that I love. One about this angle and one about my number one angle. This angle, do you want to know what my favorite parts of this whole angle was? Was at SummerSlam when Paul Bearer comes out and he takes the lid off the urn and that light shoots out.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the greatest moments, like in
Amazing,
SummerSlam history for me. Like
amazing.
that stays in my mind.
Yeah,
So good.
first event ever
Also,
at the United Center as well,
going
Chicago.
back going back to the Undertaker Paul Bearer feud, one of my favorite things he did through this was after he turned and he was with Mankind, he started holding the urn upside
Upside
down.
down. Yep.
And I just thought that was such a cool little thing to do, you know? Because up until this point, it was still believed that we're still in the cartoon era of wrestling. So it's still okay to believe that Undertaker got his powers from the urn, which is why it was a great way to turn on him by smashing him in the face with the urn. Why it was great that he kept the urn but held it upside down. Amazing stuff. Paul Bearer, I don't know if Paul Bearer gets talked about enough as one of the greatest managers of all time.
No, he does not, and he's definitely in the top seven.
I think he's in the top three, to be perfectly honest.
Ooh, I don't know about top three, but
I
top
think
seven.
I think it's Paul. I think it's Paul, Bobby, and Paul. Heyman, Bobby, and Bear.
I don't know. I'm a Jimmy Hart guy.
Yeah, I know you are. I think Bear was a much better manager than
I'm
Jimmy
trying
Hart.
to think who else I really liked.
Don't say Cornette. Not that I
Cornette
love him.
was good. I do like Cornette was a better promo than Bearer, but Bearer was a better promo in a different way.
Yeah,
That's a tough one. Cornette's up there. He's
but
got to be
well,
talked about.
Bear was but Percy Pringle
It's a great
could cut
promo
a
too.
promo.
Bearer
Yeah,
could cut a promo too. They were just
yeah,
different.
but his promos were very very specific to a character, right?
Hmm. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think Heyman has taken over Bobby, and that's hard to
yeah. We
say out
discussed that a
loud.
few. We discussed that a few weeks ago, and I do think that while Bobby, I don't think will ever be replaced as the greatest color man of all time. I think Bobby has been replaced as the greatest manager.
I think Bobby is like, everyone always is like the greatest package in the history of wrestling is Shawn Michaels. I think Bobby needs to be talked about beside Shawn Michaels
You're not wrong.
and put that out there. Greatest all around packages, Bobby Heenan. That
Yeah.
sounds dirty.
I thought that was Batista.
If you want to hear somebody who had a lot to do with Bobby Heenan and someone that's going to talk about Bobby Heenan, tune in next week when we have the legendary Greg Gagne on the show.
Yeah, man, what a fun conversation that was.
Absolutely, it was.
Can't
Absolutely.
wait for you guys to hear that.
Okay, I have one honorable mention that I have off the top of my head. I have two
Okay.
one that would never make the list, but is fun, and one that I think could have made the list.
No, I've only got one honorable mention, so
Bret
go
Hart
ahead.
and Jerry Lawler.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
great angle, great feud.
Yeah.
Led all the way. You said it, ran the whole course.
Even the stuff with Isaac Yankem.
100%. Why not? No, it took a turn after the Kiss My Foot match, but
You know what? I'll give the Isaac Yankem stuff because the vision of Jerry Lawler in the shark cage with the bloody nose
hilarious, right?
is legendary. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Vince was great on commentary during that. And just for fun, because I just thought it was a funny angle, Bret Hart and Jean-Pierre Lafitte.
Yeah, okay. I won't take that away from you.
It wouldn't make the list, but what a fun angle.
I've got a couple. Undertaker and Kama Mustafa.
Yeah.
Was a fun angle for me. My biggest
Undertaker and Giant Gonzalez was a great angle. Not a great match, but a great angle.
Undertaker and Yokozuna, great angle.
100%.
Yeah. Undertaker had a lot of great stuff going on in the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, Undertaker was the 1990s. He really was.
He was pretty good.
My biggest honorable mention is probably Goldust and Roddy Piper.
Yeah, okay. Wouldn't have made my list, but
wouldn't have made my list either. But it broke my heart not to put Goldust on the list at all because I think Goldust is such a big part of the new generation for me personally.
Yeah, but he never had that big angle that
all his great storylines just got snuffed out so quick. He started having a great story with Razor and it got snuffed. He started having a good story with Ahmed Johnson and it got snuffed. He had that great one.
Well, you heard the story about those two, eh? When Goldust gave him mouth to mouth and he wasn't supposed to, and he did it as a shoot, and Ahmed got hot.
Yeah, and Razor refused to work with the quote unquote queer character.
Yeah,
so that's why they gave him the Ahmed. And then Goldust stuff. I probably could have went with this stuff with Pillman.
Yeah, I like the Pillman feud was good.
It's another good feud.
But how did you not put the Hart Foundation on your list?
Because it was encapsulated in both the Bret and Shawn and the Bret and Owen, as far as I was concerned. To me, when I wrote my story, that's why when you disagree with me, it kind of ruined that end. That's why I said, to me, the Bret and Owen story starts at Survivor Series in '93, and it goes all the way until pretty much Survivor Series 1997.
To me, Bret starts a new career after WrestleMania 13.
I get it.
The Hart Foundation storyline to me starts after WrestleMania 13 and goes until the screw job.
Right. Okay. In that case, then yeah, it would have made my list. But I was classifying it as part of the Bret Nolan story.
I will die on the hill that Undertaker versus Undertaker should be on your list.
Okay, so the one you're taking off probably would be
Pillman and Austin.
Yeah. All right.
What was your number 6? What was your number 6 again? Shawn.
Number 6 was Shawn and Razor.
Yeah, I might tuck that one out of there too.
For what?
Hart Foundation.
Oh, okay.
Just because I look at the feuds differently, right? I to me it's pretty much a Bret Hart list. My top 3 are all Bret Hart. Yeah. I would break up Bret Austin, Bret Owen.
2, 3, 4 are Bret.
I would have broken up Hart Foundation, Bret Austin, Bret Owen. I just see them as 3 different feuds.
You know what? I'm going to throw one more honorable mention in there. I liked the Bret Sid stuff.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, the Shawn Sid.
Yeah, Shawn Sid was great feud.
I really like the Shawn Sid feud.
Absolutely.
The stuff with it's one of the only things I liked about Jose Lothario being in there. I wasn't a fan of Jose Lothario being involved in WrestleMania. Didn't like that, but the stuff they did at Royal Rumble was great.
Shawn and Diesel should be a nice honorable mention as well. They're especially going into Good Friends, Better Enemies pay-per-view. Yes, and that match was phenomenal.
The one thing I'll always remember about that match was Mad Dog Bichon.
Yeah, he's got a hell of a brother. R.I.P. my friend. All right, man. I didn't hate
grabbing that leg so great.
Oh, it's so good. I didn't hate your list as much as you thought I would, but I didn't love it either. But I didn't hate it, and that's more important.
All right. Well, in that case, there's nothing much to say, nothing much to do. All we got to do at this point is number 1, say please and thank you. Hit those subscribe buttons, hit that like, hit that follow. do all those things. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your grandma, tell your neighbor's dog, tell everybody about Count It Out, because the more likes we get, the more listens we get, the better product we can give to you. Also, we want to thank Cottage Springs once again every single week. Oh, look at you. Cottage Springs, the best tag team partner we could ask for. I can't wait to get my hands on some of that beautiful cold Cottage Springs stuff. I haven't made my way to the LCBO, but I'll be getting there really soon. But thank you, Cottage Springs. We hope you enjoyed the punch of the week this week. And until next week, you have all been counted out.
Cheers.